Welcome to United Daily Updates, your most trusted source for Manchester United news. Hello everyone and welcome back to United Daily Updates, the best place on the internet for everything Manchester United. If you have not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do that right now because we bring you the latest news, honest analysis, press conference reactions, and everything else you need to know about the Red Devils every single day. We work incredibly hard to be your most reliable and trusted source for all things Manchester United. We never spread fake rumors or sensational headlines just for clicks. We give you real information and genuine opinions that you can count on. Now let's get into today's story about a press conference moment that reveals a lot about where Manchester United are right now. Introduction. The question that shows how far United have fallen. Imagine being the manager of Manchester United. You are sitting in a press conference after a disappointing draw at home. The journalists are asking you questions. And then someone asks you something that would have been absolutely unthinkable during the Sir Alex Ferguson era. A question so absurd that it reveals just how far this once great club has fallen. A question that no journalist would have dared to ask Fergie because everyone knew the answer would be obvious. The question is simple. Are you confident Manchester United will beat Wolves? Think about that for a moment. A journalist is asking the Manchester United manager if he is confident his team can beat Wolverhampton Wanderers, a team that is bottom of the Premier League table. A team that has not won a single league match all season. A team that has only taken 2 points from all their games. The worst team in the entire league by a considerable distance. During Sir Alex Ferguson's time, asking if United were confident of beating the bottom team would have been ridiculous. Of course they would beat them. United beat everyone. They dominated English football for 2 decades. Asking Ferguson if he was confident of beating the worst team in the league would have been met with a look of disbelief and possibly some sharp words about respecting the history and standards of Manchester United. But here we are in 2025 and it is a legitimate question. Ruben Amorim, the current Manchester United manager, was asked this question in his press conference before the Wolves match. And the fact that it was asked, the fact that it is seen as a reasonable thing to wonder about, tells us everything we need to know about where Manchester United are right now. This is a club that has lost its fear factor. A club that is no longer expected to beat anyone. A club where even matches against the bottom team are seen as potential banana skins rather than guaranteed victories. This is what Manchester United have become in the post-Ferguson era. And it is both sad and frustrating for everyone who loves this club. In this detailed blog post, we are going to break down this press conference moment and what it reveals. We will look at what Ruben Amorim said and how he responded to difficult questions. We will examine the ongoing Kobbie Mainoo situation and why it keeps coming up. We will discuss how fan confidence has been shattered to the point where they are not even sure United can beat Wolves. And we will think about what this all means for the club's future and whether things can ever get back to how they were under Ferguson. This is a story about expectations, standards, and how far Manchester United have fallen from their position as the dominant force in English football. So let's dive deep into every aspect of this situation and try to understand how we got here. The press conference context. Before we get into the specific questions and answers, we need to understand the context of this press conference. When did it take place? What had just happened? Why was the atmosphere so tense? Understanding the background helps us appreciate why certain questions were asked. After the West Ham disappointment, Ruben Amorim held this press conference on Thursday evening. This was after Manchester United's disappointing 1-1 draw with West Ham at Old Trafford. As we have discussed in previous blog posts, this was a match that United should have won comfortably but threw away through poor decisions and weak mentality. United had been 1-0 up. They had been in control of the match. West Ham had offered very little threat. Everything pointed towards a routine home victory. But then Amorim made defensive substitutions. United sat back. West Ham equalized late. 2 points were thrown away. The fans booed the team off the pitch. This context is crucial because it explains why the press conference was so uncomfortable for Amorim. Journalists were understandably questioning his decisions. Fans were angry and frustrated. The manager was under pressure. This was not a time when he could relax and feel confident about answering questions. He knew he would face difficult interrogation. The timing of the press conference is also important. It was held as part of the preparation for the next match which was coming up quickly. United were about to face Wolves on Monday night. So journalists wanted to ask about that match while also addressing the problems from the West Ham game. This created a difficult situation for Amorim. He had to answer questions about what went wrong against West Ham while also trying to project confidence about the upcoming Wolves match. He had to defend his decisions while also looking forward. It is not an easy balance to strike when you are under pressure. The rollercoaster ride. The article describes Amorim's time at Manchester United as a rollercoaster ride of emotions. This is an accurate description of what his few months in charge have been like. There have been highs and lows. Good results followed by bad results. Moments of optimism followed by crushing disappointment. Amorim replaced Erik ten Hag as Manchester United manager. He came from Sporting CP in Portugal, where he had been very successful. United fans were hopeful that he would be the man to finally turn things around and get the club back to competing at the highest level. At first, things seemed promising. The article mentions that United won 3 Premier League matches in a row under Amorim at one point. This created momentum and belief. Fans started thinking that maybe this time it would be different. Maybe Amorim really was the right man for the job. But then the momentum waned. United started dropping points again. The inconsistency that has plagued them for years returned. The optimism faded. And now, after the West Ham draw, Amorim finds himself under serious pressure with questions being asked about his future. This rollercoaster pattern is exhausting for everyone involved. Players, fans, and the manager himself must be mentally drained by the constant ups and downs. You can never relax and feel secure. You can never build sustained success. It is always one step forward and one step back. The 6th manager since Ferguson. One of the most damning statistics mentioned in the article is that Ruben Amorim is the 6th permanent Manchester United head coach in the post-Sir Alex Ferguson era. Think about what that means. In the roughly 12 years since Ferguson retired in 2013, United have had 6 different permanent managers. That is David Moyes, Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Erik ten Hag, and now Ruben Amorim. That does not even count interim managers like Ryan Giggs and Ralf Rangnick, who filled in temporarily. 6 permanent managers in just over a decade is far too many. This constant change of manager shows that United have never found stability in the post-Ferguson era. They keep trying different approaches and different personalities. They hope that the next manager will be the one who finally succeeds. But so far, nobody has managed to bring back the glory days. Each new manager comes in with fresh ideas and a new philosophy. They want to rebuild the team in their own image. But they do not get enough time to complete that rebuild before results turn bad and they get sacked. Then the next manager comes in and starts all over again. It is a cycle that guarantees continued failure. Amorim is now stuck in this cycle whether he likes it or not. He is the latest in a long line of managers who have tried and so far failed to restore Manchester United to their former position. The pressure on him is immense because he knows that if he does not deliver quickly, he will be manager number 7 and someone else will get a chance. The ultimate question that would never be asked under Ferguson. Now let's get to the heart of this blog post. The article mentions that Ruben Amorim faced the ultimate Manchester United question that never would have been asked under Sir Alex Ferguson. What was this question? And why is it so significant? Are you confident United will beat Wolves? The question, as mentioned in the introduction, was essentially asking Amorim if he was confident Manchester United would beat Wolverhampton Wanderers. This might seem like a normal pre-match question on the surface. Journalists often ask managers if they are confident ahead of big games. But this was not a big game in the traditional sense. This was not a match against Liverpool or Manchester City or Arsenal. This was not a Champions League knockout tie or a cup final. This was a league match against a team that is dead last in the Premier League table with 0 wins all season. Asking if United are confident of beating this team is essentially asking if they think they can do the bare minimum expected of them. It is like asking if they think they can turn up and perform to a basic professional standard. During the Ferguson era, this question would have been laughable. Can you imagine a journalist in 2008 asking Sir Alex Ferguson if he was confident United would beat a winless team at the bottom of the table? Ferguson would have looked at them like they were crazy. Of course United would beat them. United beat everyone. That was the expectation and the reality. The fact that this question is now being asked, and being seen as legitimate rather than absurd, shows how far standards have fallen at Manchester United. It shows that nobody expects United to beat anyone anymore, not even the worst team in the league. What fan comments reveal? The article includes several comments from Manchester United fans responding to the question of whether they are confident United will beat Wolves. These comments are incredibly revealing about the current state of mind among the fanbase. One fan says they are no longer confident about any game. They predict Wolves will park the bus and take a point, or worst case United will get done on a transition or set piece and lose. This shows complete lack of faith in the team. This fan does not believe United can beat anyone, let alone the bottom team. Another fan says United always seem to gift a free win to teams at the bottom. They say it would not even be much of a surprise if United lost to a winless Wolves side. Think about how depressing that is. A United fan saying they would not be shocked to see their team lose to a team that has not won all season. That is where expectations are right now. A third fan shows a bit more fight, saying obviously we are all scarred from recent results but Wolves are the worst side the league has ever seen. They say if Amorim cannot win this then he deserves to go. This fan at least maintains the standard that United should beat Wolves, but even they admit to being scarred and lacking full confidence. These fan comments paint a picture of a supporter base that has lost all faith and confidence in their team. They have been let down so many times that they no longer believe in anything. Even when facing the worst team in the league, they are preparing themselves for disappointment because they have learned not to expect anything good from Manchester United. The Ferguson era standard. To truly understand how remarkable this question is, we need to remember what Manchester United were like under Sir Alex Ferguson. Ferguson managed United from 1986 to 2013. During his time, especially from the early 1990s onwards, United were the dominant force in English football. Under Ferguson, United won 13 Premier League titles. They won 5 FA Cups. They won the Champions League twice. They consistently finished at or near the top of the table. They were feared by every opponent. Teams would come to Old Trafford expecting to lose. That was the aura and intimidation factor that Ferguson built. If you were a team struggling at the bottom of the table and you had to go to Old Trafford or host Manchester United, you knew you were almost certainly going to lose. United did not drop points to weak teams. They destroyed them. Scorelines like 5-0 or 6-0 were common when United played teams at the bottom. Journalists knew this. Everyone knew this. So asking Ferguson if he was confident of beating the bottom team would have been pointless. Of course he was confident. Everyone was confident. United beating weak teams was as certain as the sun rising in the morning. The standards were so high under Ferguson that anything less than a comfortable victory against a struggling team was seen as a failure. If United only won 1-0 or scraped a 2-1 victory, people would question what went wrong. The expectation was dominance, not just narrow wins. How far the mighty have fallen. The contrast between then and now could not be more stark. Under Ferguson, asking if United were confident of beating the bottom team was unthinkable. Now, under Amorim and recent managers, it is a perfectly reasonable question because United have shown repeatedly that they cannot be trusted to beat anyone. This fall from grace is one of the most dramatic in football history. To go from being the team that everyone feared to being the team that cannot confidently beat a winless side at the bottom is a huge decline. It shows just how badly United have been managed in the post-Ferguson era. Ferguson created a mentality at Manchester United where everyone expected to win. Players believed they would win. Fans believed they would win. Opponents believed United would win. This belief and expectation was a huge advantage. It meant United often won matches before they even kicked off because the opposition was beaten psychologically. Now, that mentality is completely gone. Nobody expects United to win anything. Players look uncertain. Fans are pessimistic. Opponents sense weakness and believe they can get results against United. The psychological advantage has completely reversed. United are now the ones who are beaten mentally before matches even start. The Kobbie Mainoo situation. Another major topic from the press conference was the ongoing situation with Kobbie Mainoo. This has become a recurring issue that keeps coming up, and it reveals tensions between the manager and expectations around youth development at United. Why Mainoo keeps coming up? The article tells us that following United's draw against West Ham, Amorim was repeatedly asked about the elephant in the room over his decision not to play Kobbie Mainoo. This phrase elephant in the room is significant. It means everyone knows this is an issue but nobody wants to directly address it until someone finally does. Why does Mainoo keep coming up as a talking point? There are several reasons. First, Mainoo is a talented young player who showed great promise last season. He broke into the first team and impressed with his maturity and quality. He even started getting called up for England. For a young midfielder from United's academy, this was a great success story. Second, Manchester United have a proud tradition of developing and playing young players from their academy. The famous class of '92 with Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes, Gary Neville, David Beckham and others came through United's youth system. Fans take pride in seeing academy players in the first team. It is part of the club's identity. Third, Mainoo plays in a position where United have struggled. The midfield has been a problem area all season. Some of the established midfielders have not performed well. So fans wonder why a talented young player who has already proven himself is not getting opportunities when the alternatives are not delivering. Fourth, and perhaps most importantly, Mainoo seems to have fallen out of favour with Ruben Amorim specifically. Under the previous manager he was playing regularly. But since Amorim arrived, Mainoo has been marginalised. This creates the perception that Amorim does not trust young players or does not understand United's culture around youth development. All of these factors combine to make Mainu a constant talking point. Every time he does not play, especially when United struggle, journalists ask why. Fans complain about it. It becomes a narrative that follows Amorim around and creates additional pressure. Amorim's response. When asked if he understood why Kobbie Mainoo was a frequent talking point, Amorim's response was interesting. He said of course he understood. He acknowledged that journalists keep asking about it and he keeps giving the same answer. He understands that people think he should play Mainoo. But then Amorim made his position clear. He said that just because people love Kobbie and he starts for England, that does not mean Amorim needs to put him in when he feels he should not. He said it is his decision as the manager. This response shows a few things. First, Amorim is aware of the criticism and the questions. He knows people want Mainoo to play more. He is not oblivious to this ongoing narrative. Second, he is standing his ground. He is not going to be pressured into playing Mainoo just because people think he should. He will make his own decisions based on what he thinks is best. Third, and this is important, there is a hint of frustration in his response. The phrase "you ask me always the same thing" suggests he is tired of answering this question. He wants people to accept his decision and move on. But the fact that he keeps getting asked shows people are not satisfied with his explanations. From a management perspective, Amorim is right that he should make his own decisions and not be swayed by media or fan pressure. But from a public relations perspective, his handling of this issue has not been great. He has not given convincing reasons why Mainoo is not playing. This creates suspicion and more questions. The Academy trust question. The press conference took an even more interesting turn when someone suggested to Amorim that it felt like he did not trust the United Youth Academy. This is a serious accusation to make to a Manchester United manager because, as discussed earlier, youth development is such an important part of the club's identity. Amorim's response was to ask why. Why would anyone think he does not trust the academy? He seemed genuinely puzzled or perhaps offended by the suggestion. The journalist then explained that Amorim never picked any players from the academy. This is the evidence for the claim that he does not trust youth. Amorim's defense was to repeat Kobbie Mainoo's name. He pointed out that Mainoo is an academy player and he is in the squad. This is technically true. Mainoo did come through United's academy and he is part of the first team squad under Amorim. So Amorim can legitimately say he does use academy players. But this response does not really address the underlying concern. Yes, Mainoo is in the squad. But he is not playing regularly. He is not being trusted in important matches. And other young players from the academy are not getting opportunities either. Simply having one academy player in the squad is not the same as truly trusting and using youth like United did under Ferguson. The fact that this question was even asked shows that people perceive Amorim as not being committed to United's youth development tradition. Whether this perception is fair or not, it exists. And it is creating another area of tension and criticism that Amorim has to deal with. What this means for Amorim. The Kobbie Mainoo situation and the questions about trusting the academy are problematic for Ruben Amorim for several reasons. First, it creates an ongoing narrative that he is not the right fit for Manchester United's culture. If United's identity is partly built on developing young players and Amorim is seen as not doing that, it suggests he does not understand what the club is about. Second, it gives critics and potentially the club hierarchy another reason to question whether Amorim is the right man for the job. If results are poor and he is also not using the academy properly, that is 2 strikes against him. It makes it easier to justify moving on from him if things do not improve. Third, it alienates some fans who care deeply about seeing academy players given opportunities. These fans already feel the club has lost its way in many areas. If youth development is also being neglected, it is another thing to be angry and disappointed about. Amorim needs to find a way to either give Mainoo more opportunities and show he does trust the academy, or he needs to provide much better explanations for his decisions. Repeatedly saying "it is my decision" without giving proper reasoning is not enough. People want to understand the thinking behind the choices being made. What fan confidence tells us about the state of United. The fan comments included in the article about whether United will beat Wolves are incredibly revealing. They show a fan base that has been completely broken by years of disappointment. Let's analyze what these comments tell us. No longer confident about any game. The first fan comment says they are no longer confident about any game. This is a remarkable statement from a Manchester United supporter. This is someone who follows one of the biggest clubs in world football saying they have no confidence their team can beat anyone. Think about what it takes to get to this point psychologically. This fan has been let down so many times that they have given up on believing in positive outcomes. They go into every match expecting disappointment. Even when United face terrible teams, they do not expect to win. This is learned helplessness born from repeated negative experiences. This fan then makes a prediction about the Wolves match. They think Wolves will park the bus, meaning defend deep with lots of men behind the ball, and take a point with a draw. Or worst case, United will concede on a transition or from a set piece and lose. Notice that the fans' best case scenario is a draw and their worst case is a loss. They are not even considering the possibility of a United victory. This shows how broken the relationship is between this fan and their team. There is no trust, no belief, no optimism, just resignation to more disappointment. This is not healthy for any football club. You need your fans to believe in the team. Without that belief, the atmosphere at matches is negative and that affects player performance. United gift free wins to bottom teams. The second fan comment is even more damning. They say United always seem to gift a free win to teams at the bottom. They go on to say that defeat against a winless Wolves side would not even be much of a surprise. Read that again. A United fan saying they would not be surprised if their team lost to a team that has not won a single game all season. This comment reflects a pattern that fans have observed over recent years. Manchester United have repeatedly dropped points to teams they should be beating easily. Teams fighting relegation. Teams with terrible form. Teams missing half their squad through injury. Somehow, United find a way to make these matches difficult and often fail to win them. Why does this keep happening? There are several possible explanations. Maybe United players are complacent against weaker teams and do not put in full effort. Maybe the pressure of being expected to win actually makes them more nervous and tense. Maybe opposition teams raise their game against a big club like United and play above their normal level. Whatever the reasons, the pattern exists and fans have noticed it. They have seen United mess up easy matches so many times that they now expect it to happen. This expectation becomes self-fulfilling because the negative energy and lack of belief from fans feeds into the team's mentality. The phrase "gift a free win" is particularly interesting. It suggests United are not being beaten by better teams through superior play. They are giving away wins through their own mistakes, poor decisions, and weak mentality. This makes the failures even more frustrating because they feel avoidable. The scarred generation. The third fan comment admits to being scarred from recent results. This is powerful language. Being scarred means you have been hurt so badly that it leaves lasting psychological damage. This fan is saying that watching Manchester United recently has been traumatic enough to cause emotional scarring. This might sound dramatic, but it reflects the genuine pain that passionate fans feel when their team repeatedly disappoints them. Football matters deeply to supporters. It is not just entertainment. It is part of their identity and a major source of joy or misery in their lives. When your team constantly lets you down, it really does hurt. However, this fan shows a bit more fighting spirit than the first two. They say that Wolves are the worst side the league has ever seen, which is arguably true given their record of 0 wins. They maintain the standard that if Amorim cannot beat this Wolves team, he deserves to lose his job. This shows that while they are scarred, they have not completely given up on having expectations. This comment represents fans who are frustrated and lack confidence but still demand that United meet minimum standards. They accept that recent results have been bad. They understand why people are pessimistic. But they still believe that beating the worst team in the league should be non-negotiable. If you cannot do that, you should not be Manchester United manager. The collective psychology. When you look at all these fan comments together, they paint a picture of a fanbase in psychological distress. Years of false hopes, broken promises, and disappointing results have created a collective trauma. Fans no longer know what to believe or expect. They have learned to protect themselves emotionally by expecting nothing. This is terrible for Manchester United as a club. Fan support and belief is one of the key advantages that big clubs have. When your stadium is full of supporters who believe you will win, it creates an intimidating atmosphere that helps your team and unsettles opponents. But when your fans are pessimistic and expect disappointment, it has the opposite effect. The players feel the negativity from the crowd. They sense the lack of belief. This makes them more nervous and tense. They start doubting themselves. And this makes poor performances more likely, which confirms the fans' negative expectations and creates a vicious cycle. Breaking this cycle requires sustained success. United need to start winning consistently, especially in matches they should win. They need to rebuild trust with their fanbase. They need to show that supporting them will lead to joy rather than pain. But this takes time, and until it happens, this broken psychological state will continue. The deeper problems at Manchester United. The fact that journalists are asking if United are confident of beating Wolves, and fans are genuinely unsure about the answer, points to deeper structural problems at Manchester United that go beyond just the current manager or players. Lack of clear identity. One of Manchester United's biggest problems in the post-Ferguson era has been a lack of clear identity. What kind of football do United want to play? What is the philosophy? What are the standards and expectations? Nobody seems to know anymore. Under Ferguson, everyone knew what United were about. Attack. Excitement. Never giving up. Winning. These were non-negotiable parts of United's identity. Every player who joined understood this. Every manager who might have replaced Ferguson would have needed to embrace this identity. But since Ferguson left, United have lurched from one approach to another. They hired David Moyes, who was cautious and defensive. Then Louis van Gaal, who played possession football that was boring. Then Jose Mourinho, who was pragmatic and negative. Then Ole, who tried to play more like Ferguson but lacked the quality. Then Ten Hag with his pressing game. Now Amorim with something different again. Each manager has brought a completely different philosophy. There is no thread connecting them. No clear sense of what Manchester United football should look like. This makes it impossible to build anything sustainable because every few years you start from scratch with a new identity. Poor squad planning. Related to the identity issue is poor squad planning. United have spent enormous amounts of money on players over the past decade. But so much of that spending has been wasted because there is no coherent plan behind it. Each new manager wants different types of players. So United buy players for one manager's system. Then that manager gets sacked, and the new manager does not want those players. The squad becomes a mess of players bought for different systems who do not fit together properly. Good clubs have a clear playing philosophy and they buy players who fit that philosophy regardless of who the manager is. So when you change manager, the new guy can work with most of the existing squad because they all fit the same general profile. United do not do this. They just buy whoever the current manager wants without thinking long term. This poor planning means United waste money and end up with unbalanced squads that do not make sense. Then when results are poor, people blame the players or the manager when really the problem is the lack of planning from the people running the club. The pressure and expectations. Manchester United also suffer from the weight of their own history and expectations. The Ferguson era was so successful that anything less than that level feels like failure. But reaching that level again is incredibly difficult, especially in the modern era where clubs like Manchester City have unlimited resources. This creates unrealistic pressure on everyone. Managers are expected to win immediately. Players are expected to perform like world beaters. When results are not perfect, the criticism is intense and unforgiving. This pressure makes it very hard for anyone to do their best work. Compare this to how Liverpool handled Jurgen Klopp's early years. They were patient. They accepted that building something takes time. They did not panic after one bad season. Eventually that patience paid off with huge success. But United do not seem capable of showing that kind of patience anymore. The pressure also affects players mentally. They know that every mistake will be analyzed endlessly. They know that a bad run of form could lead to them being sold. They play with fear rather than freedom. This makes good performances less likely and creates another vicious cycle. No fear factor. As discussed earlier, Manchester United have completely lost the fear factor they had under Ferguson. Teams used to be intimidated by coming to Old Trafford or facing United anywhere. Now, teams see United as an opportunity to get points. When you have no fear factor, everything becomes harder. Opponents play with confidence against you. They believe they can win. They are not beaten psychologically before the match starts. You have to earn every victory through good performance rather than having the advantage before you even kick off. Rebuilding this fear factor takes sustained success over years. You need to beat teams regularly and convincingly. You need to create a reputation where everyone knows that playing United will probably result in defeat. Until that happens, United will continue to struggle in matches they should win easily. What needs to change at Manchester United? Given all these problems, what actually needs to change at Manchester United? How can they get back to being a club where beating the bottom team is taken for granted rather than questioned? Let's think about what is required. Stick with a manager. The first and most important change is that United need to pick a manager and stick with him for multiple years even when results are not immediately perfect. The constant changing of managers every season or two is killing the club. You cannot build anything when you keep starting over. Whether Ruben Amorim is the right man for this or not, United need to show patience with someone. Give them at least 2 or 3 seasons. Back them in transfer windows. Allow them to build a squad that fits their philosophy. Judge them over a full cycle rather than just a few months. This requires leadership from the ownership and board. They need to resist pressure from fans and media to make changes quickly. They need to have faith in the long-term plan even when short-term results are disappointing. This is hard but necessary. Develop a clear philosophy. United also need to establish a clear footballing philosophy that transcends individual managers. What kind of football does Manchester United play? What type of players do we sign? What are our values and standards? These things should be decided at club level and then managers are hired who fit that philosophy. This is how successful clubs like Bayern Munich or Barcelona operate. They have a clear identity that continues regardless of who the manager is. Managers might add their own tweaks, but the fundamental approach remains constant. United need to develop this kind of coherence. Part of this philosophy must be a commitment to youth development and playing academy players when they are good enough. This is part of United's DNA and it should not be negotiable. Any manager who comes to United should understand that using the academy is expected and important. Build mental strength. Manchester United need to rebuild the mental strength and winning mentality that they had under Ferguson. This is partly about the manager instilling belief and confidence. But it is also about the players themselves having the right mindset and personality. United need to sign mentally strong players who believe they will win and who do not crumble under pressure. They need to create a culture in the dressing room where standards are high and nobody accepts mediocrity. This takes time, but it starts with getting the right characters into the squad. The mental aspect is just as important as technical ability. You can have the most talented squad in the world, but if they do not believe in themselves and do not have winning mentality, they will underperform. Ferguson understood this, which is why he always prioritized mentality and character when signing players. Restore pride and standards. Finally, Manchester United need to restore pride in the shirt and remember what standards should be at this club. Beating the team at the bottom of the table should not be questioned. It should be expected and demanded. Anything less is unacceptable. This starts from the top of the club. The owners and executives need to set high standards and hold people accountable when those standards are not met. Managers need to demand excellence from their players. Players need to have pride in representing Manchester United and understand what it means. When standards slip and mediocrity becomes acceptable, it is very hard to reverse course. It requires strong leadership and a willingness to make tough decisions. But without this, United will continue drifting and the question of whether they can beat bottom teams will continue to be asked. Conclusion. The question that defines the problem. We have covered an enormous amount of ground in this blog post about the press conference question that would never have been asked under Sir Alex Ferguson. We have looked at the context, the fan reactions, the Kobbie Mainoo situation, and the deeper problems facing Manchester United. The bottom line is this. The fact that anyone is asking whether Manchester United are confident of beating the worst team in the Premier League shows how far this club has fallen. Under Ferguson, such a question would have been absurd. Now, it is perfectly reasonable because United have shown repeatedly that they cannot be trusted to beat anyone. This is not just about one manager or one group of players. This is about a club that has lost its identity, its standards, and its winning mentality. United have become a club where mediocrity is tolerated and where nobody really expects success anymore. Ruben Amorim faces the challenge of trying to reverse this decline. But he is working within a broken system with immense pressure and no guarantee of time to build something. Whether he succeeds or becomes yet another manager who could not fix Manchester United remains to be seen. What is clear is that until United address the deeper structural and cultural problems, they will continue to struggle. They will continue to drop points to teams they should beat. And journalists will continue to ask questions that would have been unthinkable in the glory days under Sir Alex Ferguson. Final thoughts and outro. Thank you so much for reading this comprehensive analysis of the press conference moment and what it reveals about Manchester United. I hope you found this blog post thought-provoking and insightful, even though much of it was depressing for United fans. If you enjoyed this content, please make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel United Daily Updates. We bring you analysis of press conferences, fan reactions, tactical discussions, and everything else you need to understand what is happening at Manchester United every single day. We work hard to provide honest, thoughtful content that goes beyond just reporting headlines. We try to understand the deeper issues and patterns. This is what makes us different and why so many United fans trust us. Please hit that like button if you found this blog post valuable. Turn on notifications so you never miss our content. And share this with other United fans who want to understand the current state of their club. I would love to hear your thoughts on all of this. Are you confident United will beat Wolves? What do you think about how Amorim has handled the Kobbie Mainoo situation? Do you agree that United have lost all standards and expectations? And what needs to change for United to get back to being a club where beating bottom teams is taken for granted? Leave your comments and let's discuss. Make sure you check back after the Wolves match for our full analysis. We will see if United finally did what they should do and beat the worst team in the league, or if we have another disappointing result to dissect. Until next time, stay loyal to the Red Devils, never stop demanding the high standards that Manchester United should have, and let's hope this club can find a way back. Until next time, stay loyal to the Red Devils, keep demanding the high standards that Manchester United should have, and let's hope for a convincing victory on Monday night that shows this team can finally beat a team they should be beating. Come on United!